This is going to be a debate. Some people will tell you, most people from my experience will tell you that this is the greatest RPG to ever see the 16-bit era. This was Secret of Mana. It was good for its time. It was great for its time. Not only was there the normal standard level up system, but you were able to, how do I put this? You could play multiplayer. It was all in live time, so you could dodge on your own, attack on your own, and pretty much survival was up to how fast you reacted instead of how well you sorted through your menu to find the item you wanted to use. However, for as good as that game was, I prefer one more. That, Secret of Evermore, I believe to be 100 times its successor. I feel like it was better. You got the main guy and the dog, and you traveled through time and dimensions, and each time you made a jump, the dog and the guy would change somehow to be relative to the universe that they were in. That was one of the biggest parts of the game for me, not to mention that it played like Sword of Mana, so it was dealing with a better storyline in my opinion, and it settled it down to where it was really just you and your dog, and you just kind of fought by yourself. And most RPGs, even though I like the idea of another person playing with me, I don't, because a lot of the times an RPG is played by yourself. It's not often that you pick up something like Final Fantasy VII and be like, hey, do you want to be Barrett? Every time it's your turn, I'll hand the controller to you. Because he's not going to stick around for 60 plus hours to play the game with you unless he's like your brother or something like that. So this I actually preferred a lot more. Super Mario All-Stars, that's the game just by itself without the Super Mario World. That's Super Mario 1, Super Mario 2, Super Mario 3, and Super Mario The Lost Worlds. All with redone graphics for the time to fit better on the, how do I put this, in the 16-bit era, because everything then was the 8-bit era, and they brought it up and re-enhanced the games to better work in the era that they were being presented in. Now, I'm not going to get into a big debate here because there's going to be an iCollect episode on this, but when you re-released this game for the Wii, shame on you. You could have redone those graphics in high presented sprites, hand-drawn, the entire thing, HD'd it up a bit. You could have done 1,000 times better than what you did. Simply porting this game the exact same and charging me $60 was bullshit. Shame on you, Nintendo. Shame. If you can't tell, the storm's getting a little nasty here. We got some booms coming in on the camera, and you've seen my lighting flickered a bit. If this video ends, I'll have to pick it up wherever it ended. So, sorry if that ends up happening, guys. Captain America and the Avengers. The Lone Paladin, Mr. Nicholas Bennett, loves this game because he's retarded. This game sucks. Has terrible collision detection. You can only hit the guy once. Sometimes during your combo of duh, because you can only hit him that one time and he goes into a state of kind of being invincible, the first hit gets him, the second hit kind of gets him, the third hit gets him. And then during that second hit, they can actually hit you, and every time you get hit, even if it's by like a tiny pebble that was thrown, your guy's like, no! No! They should have said no about this game. This is the design. It's actually quite simple. It was designed to look like a Super Nintendo game. This, in its own right, is marketing genius. Why? Well, it plays Game Boy games. That was the initial intent to releasing this thing. It allows you to play Game Boy games on your Super Nintendo. The idea here is that if somebody had a Super Nintendo, but not a Game Boy, and they bought this was cheaper than a Game Boy and would allow them to test out the Game Boy games. If they like the Game Boy games, of course they'll buy a Game Boy because they want to take the game with them. And at the same time, it was absolute marketing genius to allow people that already had a Game Boy, but not a Super Nintendo, the chance to play it on their TV. Now, they already like the Game Boy games, so are they going to say no? Of course not. Even I was taken aback when I knew that this thing existed. I did not have a Super Nintendo at the time. I actually had a Nintendo and a Game Boy. And this is one of the things that prompted me to get a Super Nintendo. Not so much the Super Nintendo games, but the idea that I could play these games on the TV. I mean, certain games like Pokemon and things like that, they run really well on those systems and they are fun. But the real appeal, for some reason, is when you're at home, you don't want to play on a tiny little screen. You want the big screen experience. And being able to use the Super Nintendo controller and save your batteries was a really big deal. This looks nice. It's sleek. There's really nothing I could say bad about this. They knew what they were doing when they released this. This thing is marketing genius. The design is flawless. This is a double plus. Let's move on to size. Why is this thing special? Well, how do I explain this? Let's go with something like Pokemon. Just about everybody knows this game, so it's pretty easy to identify this. Pokemon, like all Game Boy games, runs on a very, very strict system like all of these. The color palette is only 4. This means that on the screen at any given time, no matter what you're playing, no matter how advanced your Game Boy is, this game only has 4 colors on screen at any time. 4 shades of gray, or if you got it on your Game Boy Color, 4 shades of color. No more, no less. Always 4. This was not restricted by the same idea and could have multiple colors on the screen in different areas, such as a palette for simply just the life bars could be up to 3 or 4, while at the same time the character model could be up to 3 or 4, and the background could be up to 3 or 4, somewhere around 16, maybe even 20 different color palettes on screen at once, which could make your games look a lot better. I could talk about this all day. Genshinken. Now, this is a book about a couple different things, actually. It kind of studies the otaku culture in general. Kind of like, for those that wouldn't know, an otaku is kind of an anime geek, a manga geek, as opposed to an American otaku would be a comic book geek, a video game geek, that type of thing. So basically they collect action figures and they read mangas and they watch animes and they like nerdy movies, and I don't know how I managed to not read this that long, because this is everything that I am. Now, this guy right here, this is Sasahara, I believe his name, and sorry if I'm butchering it. Now, I've never got to watch the anime, so I've never heard these names said, so I'm just going to say it as I believe they're said. Now, Sasahara, he doesn't exactly know. He has to join a club because it's good on your resumes and whatnot, especially in Japan. Activities, everybody needs club activities. If you're an outcast in everything, then it's not going to help your chances in the future. Now, he goes to join. At first, he's kind of thinking the anime club, then he's kind of thinking the manga club, then he's kind of thinking the models club. And models, I mean like putting together like models, and not just models like airplanes and things like that, but it's common to get like Gundam models and even like, how do I put this? Lady models? Kind of like if you liked Persona, you would get like a Chie or even a Kanji model, and you would be able to put the person together and then paint it and whatnot. So that's something that they do. And he ends up going for the Genshinken. And the reason is because the Genshinken, broken down, means the Society for the Study of Modern Visual Culture. Now, this means that they study, discuss, and participate in anything on that that entire thing, even including like music. You would even get into music that way. Now, the main story kind of centers around him finding himself, that he is that kind of guy, but he's kind of, society looks at you funny because you are that type of guy, so he's kind of pushed back, and he doesn't want to be that guy, even though there's no reason that he shouldn't just be who he wants to be. But he meets up with the guys in the Genshinken and starts expressing himself. He goes out and he buys the games without remorse, and he reads the manga, and he stops with the constant hurting himself. You constantly question yourself, like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Let me move the camera. There, is a little better. But, there's no reason for him to do that, to be ashamed of something that he likes. If it's something that you like, it's something you like, and you just got to get over it. That's the way it is. Now, the main story does kind of focus around him, but it also focuses on these two people. This here is Kaosaka. And Kaosaka, he is a major otaku. Though he doesn't look the part, he's very much like Pretty Boy and whatnot, so he kind of gets away with blending in with a bunch of different crowds. Now, the issue here is with his girlfriend. His girlfriend, seen right here. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I can't say her name at all. Like, I've said it 5 or 6 different ways so far as I've read the book, and from what I can guess, her name is like, it's almost like Kaosaka, but it's not. Now, they refer to her as Saki, and I could easily say that, but the other thing, her actual name is like, Kaosokabe, and I'm pretty sure I've butchered that name to death, but I haven't heard it said, and I haven't really gone out of my way to research how to say it yet, so that's just the way it is. Now, there are other characters, of course, which are the Genshinken club members, which right here, this guy is the most prominent member. He's the guy that, he's not really the most important member, but he always wants to talk like he is. That's Madorama. And then these two guys over here are also members. And then, of course, Sasahara. And then there's the president. And the president, they just refer to him as Prez. And he doesn't show up very often. And he's kind of creepy. Like, I don't know how to explain it. He just really is. Like, if I could find him in here, I'll show him to you, and you'll see what I mean. Like, the way he's drawn compared to everybody else just makes him kind of creepy. Like, there he is. He's just kind of weird. But this has been great because she doesn't want Kaosaka to be in the Genshinken, because she would rather have a normal boyfriend that's not all into, to put it, Americanize it, she wants somebody that's not going crazy over Mary Jane Watson, or having a boner for the Black Widow. She wants somebody that isn't obsessed in terms of who could beat up Superman, she doesn't want that guy. She wants a guy that can watch some sports and can fix her car and that type of thing, but she doesn't want to go get another guy. She wants Kaosaka to be that guy. And it's just something that he's not going to do. Now, there were only 9 volumes released, and luckily, that used to be pretty hard to track down, but they've released these, the Genshinken Omnibus, and these are great because there's only 3 of them. They're like $20 a piece. Yeah, $20 a piece. And I bought all 3 of them, and I now have the entire series. Now, this ran until 2006 when it stopped, and then it didn't start back up again until 2010. But what's weird is that in 2010 this came back, and they called it Genshinken Season 2, but it's only produced 3 volumes. So either the dude has a lot of other stuff going on, or he's taking his sweet time producing this book now, which either one is fine, because it guarantees that I can take at my leisure buying the next 3 volumes, and I'm not even done reading the original Genshinken, so I'm not even worried about it yet.